The Scripps Howard Foundation honors excellence in business and economics reporting. The winner? The Wall Street Journal for Private Risk, a series that revealed questionable practices and the shaky ground that serves as the foundation for the technology startup boom. At the intersection of Wall Street and Silicon Valley sits one of the greatest investment frenzies in history. In a year-long series, the Wall Street Journal exposed and analyzed the troubling foundation of the technology boom, with powerful reporting that triggered action by federal regulators, the nation's largest drugstore chain, and dozens of major retailers. The investigation revealed how technology firms fudge their finances, how private tech shares are traded in a shadowy market, and how millions of Americans own risky shares of private tech firms through their retirement funds with no idea about what they're actually worth.
First-class example of accountability journalism. What I really liked about it was the typical Wall Street Journal approach to getting great anecdotes and the human interest story. The best stories tell a story.
It just opened the doors to an industry that's notoriously unhappy about scrutiny. It wants a lot of publicity, but doesn't want very much scrutiny. And the series got behind those doors and let us see things to understand better how we may be heading for another tech boom.
They have introduced the rest of us to this exclusive world. And in doing so, they have pointed out that it may not be as substantive as many of us have been led to believe.
The William Brewster Stiles Award for Business and Economics Reporting and a check for $10,000 is presented by Scripps Howard Foundation trustee Tim Wesolowski, Senior Vice President and Chief Financial Officer for the E.W. Scripps Company. Accepting on behalf of the Wall Street Journal is Senior Editor Michael Sicanolfi.
Thanks, Tim, and thanks to the Scripps Howard Foundation. We really appreciate it. This work was made possible only by a group of talented reporters of the Journal. Actually, so many of them they probably would fill the stage. But I'd just like to give a quick shout out just to a few of them whose work was truly outstanding, starting with John Carreyrou and Susan Pulliam in New York, along with Kirsten Grind and Telis Stemos and Maureen Farrell. And in San Francisco, there was Rolf Winkler and Doug McMillan and Scott Austin, and finally in Washington there was Monica Langley. It's an extraordinary multi-bureau effort that was seamless, which is we know is not typical necessarily in newsrooms. But if any of you have seen the HBO series Silicon Valley, you know that there's some skullduggery that is taking place beneath the tech revolution that we're all enjoying. And I think for consumers it's great because we have access to iPhones and Uber and Airbnb, and it's terrific. But the tech mania has also caused one of the most intense investment frenzies of our lifetime, and that's something that we sought to shine a light on and hold tech firms and Wall Street accountable for their actions. The series started just with a conversation that I had with Susan Pulliam, who I don't believe is any relation to the charitable trust. But Susan and I have been working together for decades, and we've seen our share of cycles and booms and busts from the dot-com era to the mortgage meltdown, and so we know that these movies end badly, and so we really sought to try to get ahead of it, of the coming disaster in some of these shares. And so what we did is we conceived a number of areas that we thought were really important that we can get ahead of while the boom was going on, from technology that wasn't necessarily sound and in some cases could hurt people, to valuations that were sky high and bore no relation to reality, to the lack of disclosure or any transparency, so that investors really had no idea what their shares were truly worth. There were a number of hurdles along the way. We faced multiple litigation threats. Sources were followed. Sources were pressured to recant. And just covering a private industry was difficult because there was not much public information for us to to be able to have access to. And the reporters, we set a high standard for the reporters. John Carreyrou, in his Theranos reporting, spent 9 months reporting before a single word was published in the journal. And, there were a lot of headwinds. And, when things got really tough, we fell back on a saying that's attributed to Abraham Lincoln, who was reported to have said that he never saw a man get lost on a straight road. So we kept that straight road. And in fact, we continue on that road today. And in today's journal, on page 1 of today's journal, is one of our stories on the unusual financial maneuverings of Elon Musk and his empire of Tesla and SolarCity and SpaceX. And so this continues to evolve. And in some ways, that's the point. I really urge all of us in the media to make every effort to seize big moments and to do reporting real time during boom time, so that we're not left just picking up the pieces when the bubbles burst. Thank you very much.